All right, this next one in the Your Turn Apart section 8.3, we have a binomial that each of these things have in common. So the first thing I need to be able to see is I need to see that there's a term here and a term here and a term here, and that these two signs separate those terms. So I'm going to put k plus 9 as a GCF. Now, the GCF, when it comes out, remember we divided out of each term. So I'm dividing out k plus 9 here, which makes that one and that one cancel, which would leave a 4t squared from there. And then remember, I'm dividing it out. And so that's k plus 9 coming out of this term, dividing out of that term, right? Which means it's going to come out of there, leaving me with a 20t. And then plus, and then I see 25 here if I divide out that k plus 9 term there. Now, one of the things that we sometimes will miss is we'll sometimes miss just a number that's part of the GCF, or a variable that's a part of a GCF because of this binomial. So always just kind of take a look at this again and make sure that you got everything. And I see that I did. And what I notice when I look at it again is I see that that's a perfect square and that's a perfect square. So I question whether this is a perfect square trinomial. So the root of that's a 2t, and the root of that's a 5. And so I have question, is 2 times 2t times 5 equal to 20? And yes, it is. So this is a perfect square trinomial. So this is going to factor as k plus 9. And then times, and the root of the first term, 2t, plus, because the middle sign is plus, the root of the last term, 5, and then quantity squared. And that will be my final answer. Now, one of the things that you should probably check your work on and make sure that you didn't do is put a cube out here, because a lot of students will think that because there's a k plus 9 in every one of these that they're going to cube this. But remember, that's a GCF. It's just like saying it was an x or a 2 or a 3. You wouldn't put an x cubed or a 2 cubed or a 3 cubed, right? You just put it one time. It's the GCF. You wrote the GCF down times the trinomial that was left, and then we factored that trinomial. Now, looking at the last one down here, what we have going on here is again like we had in this problem here, 1b. We have the leading coefficient's a number, but we have a 1 down here. So we're really just looking at the factors of 3 that sum to 12. So this is like saying x squared plus 12x plus 3. And if that were the case, you know you'd find the factors of 3 and you'd be finding those that sum to 12, and they don't exist, right? Well, they don't exist here either. And remember, when we have no way of factoring it other than 1 times the polynomial itself, we call it prime. So that one is a prime polynomial. And so now we're done with those year turns, and we're ready to go on, and we're ready to do some simplification with 12.1 and 12.2 material again. So now I'll go ahead and do some videos on hitting those, and I'll do that in another separate video.